NFL insiders Adam Schefter, Riddick live on SportsCenter. So the sides are close to a deal, Adam. And Garrett, one of the game's elite pass rushers, obviously. But again, we just showed the video of the last time we saw him on the field. A lot of controversy. Take us behind the curtain as to how this deal is going down.
Sage, the truth of the matter is these sides have been talking about this deal and working on it for weeks now. And Myles Garrett wound up taking a physical today that he passed. He is expected to sign that contract tomorrow. That will make him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. It will tie him to the Cleveland Browns for 7 years. Now, keep in mind, he had the 2 years remaining on his contract. The Browns are adding on 5 years. And it's a new regime in Cleveland. They hired a new head coach in Kevin Stefanski, a new general manager in Andrew Berry. And one of the first things that they prioritized in their current roles is extending the former #1 overall pick. And we're seeing players from that draft class now get signed to long-term deals. We've seen Patrick Mahomes land a big deal. We've seen Christian McCaffrey land a big deal. There hasn't been a lot of money handed out this offseason, but the special players, the unique players, are getting the big money, and Myles Garrett is included in that group.
And both sides, Myles and the team, said that that thing is long in the past, what happened against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they have all moved on. Lewis, if Garrett gets this $125 million extension done, he is going to pass Khalil Mack as the highest paid defensive player in annual salary. I mean, what in your mind, the X's and O's side, makes him worth that kind of money?
Well, I think over the past 3 years, 30.5 sacks in 37 games, that's what makes him worth that kind of money. 32 tackles for loss. That's what makes him worth that kind of money. He plays a premium position, Sage. He is the guy who is the QB hunter. He plays that position. It's the most important position on the field. When you're talking about 22 players on the football field other than quarterback, the guys who get after the quarterbacks and put them on the ground and make them uncomfortable. He is a phenomenal athlete, can play all along the defensive line. He can play left side, right side. He can play D tackle if he needed to. He can stand up and play over the nose. He's an interchangeable player that has so much God-given ability that he's still only scratching the surface of his potential. And he obviously has the confidence and the trust of management to go ahead and, in this environment, get that kind of contract. And again, the only guys who are getting these kind of contracts are not only just great players, but they're people who ownership feel very comfortable with as far as giving this kind of money, given the uncertainty going forward with the cap. Myles Garrett right now is cashing in on what has so far been a tremendous career. And he's, obviously they're banking on the fact that he's going to continue to produce this way in the near future. Yeah,
he is as talented as they get. Guys, stay right there. Kevin wants to talk to you about one deal that is done in Kansas City.
Sage, right before that deadline, the countdown to the franchise tag deadline is less than 22 hours, and Chris Jones was tagged. And here are the details of this new deal with the Chiefs. 4 years, worth $80 million, $60 million is guaranteed. Jones could make an additional $5 million in incentives with the Super Bowl champs. He's the 7th defensive player with at least the $60 million guarantee number in his current contract. So here's why the Chiefs gave him that much money in guaranteed dough. He's recorded 23.5 sacks when lined up as a defensive tackle over the last 2 seasons, second most in the NFL, trailing only Aaron Donald. Jones leads the NFL in batted passes over the last 2 seasons, which includes 2 in the fourth quarter of their Super Bowl victory against the 49ers. The impact that Jones presents on that Chiefs defense is significant. Last season, opposing quarterbacks posted a quarterback rating of 32 when Jones was on the field, but that nearly doubled the 59 when he was off the field. And the Chiefs defense allowed nearly 6 fewer points per game when Jones played compared to when he was unavailable. Back with Schefter and Lewis here, and we just saw why the Chiefs wanted to make sure Jones stayed with this team. Adam, how did he get this deal done?
Kevin, they've been trying to do this deal dating back to last summer when he was a franchise player then. Again, they wanted to get this deal done. They finally did today. Basically, they agreed to this. You look at the money involved, $60 million guaranteed. Again, in a pandemic where a lot of players are not getting paid, Chris Jones is now getting some guaranteed money that he wanted. And this is a player that the Chiefs general manager, Brett Veach, valued and wanted to keep. And so 8 days ago, they get a deal done with Patrick Mahomes. They follow it up the next week with Chris Jones. And so you get the centerpiece of your offense and the centerpiece of your defense, and you tie them up for years to come. And that is the way to try to defend a Super Bowl title.
Managing the cap and drafting stars, it's a great recipe for success here. And Kansas City has the highest chance to repeat as Super Bowl champs, according to FPI. And here's why. Our insider Field Yates broke down just how much of this team is coming back. Along with those two big contracts, Mahomes and Jones, 20 of the 22 Super Bowl starters are returning, along with the entire coaching staff. And Lewis, not often do you see that type of retention coming off a Super Bowl win with Mahomes and now Jones locked up. What could get in the way of another Super Bowl run for Andy Reid this upcoming season?
Yeah, usually the two things that derail your run, in this kind of situation are really injuries and complacency. One of those two usually are the factors that knock you off. And obviously, hopefully, they all stay healthy and are able to get through a full 16-game season. And as far as complacency is concerned, I don't really think that's going to be a problem with this organization, mainly because of the fact that the number one guy, Pat Mahomes, there's nothing complacent about him. This is a guy who is so mature beyond his years, beyond just being 24 years old, that it really does take them by surprise every day, the level of maturity that he shows. And the thing about it is, all of the players on this football team really fallen behind him and respect Pat Mahomes. There is no animosity, no jealousy whatsoever as far as what Pat is getting, both in terms of compensation and the attention that he's getting, evidenced by that GQ cover that's coming out right now. I mean, they all root for him. And guys like Chris Jones, you see it on social media. They're back and forth congratulating one another. There's a very unique chemistry that Brett and Andy have built down there in Kansas City. And right now, look, over the next 2 to 3 years, the league is in trouble. You better bring it with these guys because they have something special both in terms of talent and in terms of chemistry and relationships that they built in that building, and they're humming right along right now.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.